Welcome to Accounting High.
When you've got a practice, we want to grow the practice. We want to build a practice that gives us that time, money, and freedom. Embrace the fact that you're not a technician. You are not just that accountant now. You are a business owner. You are an entrepreneur. You've got to remove yourself away from the doing so you can actually work on the business and build a business that you're proud of, that gives you that money, time, and freedom that ultimately you desire and want. And that's the reason why you set up your business in the first place.
May I have your attention, please?
If you're listening on the show, hear what GACon can do for you.
It's accounting integrators. We're integrating Google Sheets with different accounting software. Xerox, QuickBooks, Sage, FreshBooks. We do two-way synchronization to download raw data, reports, consolidation reports, and do bulk upload.
Corey, you want to say a couple words? You're like the student sitting in the front row.
Where do you see people using the product more? Like, is it more on the reporting or the data side?
Why you really using GCon? To automate the process. So basically, we're helping accountants, business owners to have these numbers as accurately as possible and as fast as possible. We're managing a lot of data in both directions.
This excites me. As someone that's coming from building custom integrations, this is basically a tap into the API, pulling invoice data, location data, payment data, line items, customers, right? This becomes very powerful. It's more than just reporting.
You're limited by your imagination.
Yes, that's true.
One of the key features is not only that two-way sync for a lot of people, but I think it's just extracting raw data. It's great to have report, and those are super valuable, but where my head went to is like building some of the working papers for the balance sheet. If you can start to pull some transaction level detail or account level detail, that can automate a lot of the accounting process that many people just don't like doing.
This is a huge, huge unlock. I've been wanting to do things like this forever with access to all the data pieces. You can pull data from one client and another and compare them all.
And then you can go even further, right? It will be your dashboards. This will be your BI solutions, your presentation layers. And that will give you huge visibility, right, to the client. They don't like to dig in numbers. They want to see it colorful on the graph, your next presentation layer. People use us a lot this way too.
You could also export that data into your QuickBooks or Xero.
That can be done too, yep.
Ooh. Secure, automated, easy, two-way sync. Head explosions going on. That's awesome. What can our listeners do? What can they do to sign up? Like, this is the call to action here.
They can access us through our website or go to Google Workspace Marketplace, type GCon, and you will have all our products there. Install it and go ahead.
G-Acon, what's the website URL? We can put that in the notes.
Acon, ACCON.services.
Okay.
You guys have a 14-day free trial for anyone that wants to test it out, experiment. That's what I'll be doing next.
It's absolutely free. They don't have to put any credit cards. We just want them to be comfortable and see if it still really works for them. Go and try us out.
May I have your attention, please?
Welcome to Accounting High. It's freshman year at a brand new school. Here, we have no rules in place as we're on a mission to set our own traditions. So hang tight and learn with us as we grow. At Accounting High, you can expect to gain knowledge in a completely different way than what you may be used to, with some fun and oftentimes colorful conversations. Whether you loved high school or you hated it, here's your chance to be a part of an unforgettable experience redone. While you're here, don't forget to follow us on Spotify or subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may be listening to us right now so you don't miss out on any new episodes. And feel free to leave us a 5-star review letting us know how the school year is treating you. In addition, share this episode on social media, tagging us at Accounting High. So sit back, relax, and open your mind because class is in session.
I repeat, may I have your attention, please?
This is another public service announcement brought to you in part
by Accounting High.
The views and events expressed here are
of the next generation of accounting and tech professionals leading this space.
The events and suggestions are not to be taken lightly. Children should not partake in the listening
of this podcast.
Anything else?
Yeah.
So without further ado, Introducing the star of our show.
Scotty and Reza.
We're gonna have a problem here.
I am so grateful to have the Reza on again. We're recording on our last year. It was on Independence Day. This year it's a day earlier, but it's our same date pretty much year after year. Let me set the stage a little bit for anybody that hasn't listened to Reza's first episode at Accounting High. Stop the Scroll. Great episode. I loved it. It's been an inspiration for me. Reza is an FCA and a CTA. A qualified chartered accountant is FCA. Where does the F come in?
So the F comes in when you're 10 years after you qualify, you become a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. So
Are you a fellow?
I'm a fellow now,
You're a fellow now? And a chartered tax advisor, CTA.
Mm-hmm.
Riz's brand, Capture Accounting, serves content creators and influencers. Riz has got a niche. I love this. Spends most of his time coaching and mentoring accounting firm owners. His community is called Profitable Accountants Community, PAC.
The PAC.
I love the PAC. I'm in a lot of PACs. I'm not in this PAC, but I'm in the X PAC. I'm in the G PAC. I'm in the Fresh PAC.
The 2-pack.
Yeah, 2-pack. Ooh, yes. We didn't get to the Rizza comment yet. He speaks regularly at accounting conferences. You may catch him at Accountex across the pond, Accounting Web, QuickBooks, and other events, possibly coming soon to U.S. events near you.
Absolutely.
He's a world traveler. Rizza just wrote a book, too, the book that he was alluding to in his last episode. He's published it. He's released it. It's amazing. It's called The 4 Pillars. 4 Pillars, how to build an accounting firm that gives you more money, time, and freedom. Money, time, and freedom are things that we talk about a lot here at Accounting High. He's got the Profitable Accountant podcast, the PAP. And I'm wearing my Wu-Tang shirt because he is also the founder of the Wu-Tang Clan, the Rizza. I love how you put that.
Excited to be here, Scotty.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here, man.
You've got to let the audience know that you gave me this nickname and it's stuck now.
And yeah, in your intro, in your story, in your book, you wrote something on the second paragraph of your story. You wrote, I was 27 and although doing okay, in all caps, okay, my rap name is OKR. Okay, rapper. So you've got a 3-letter acronym nickname, the Rizza, and I have a 3-letter acronym nickname, the OKR. Now,
Okay, rapper.
yeah, so
Brilliant. Love it.
doing okay with that. But this is not about the raps today. This is about Rizza, even though he is a former rapper turned accountant. Rizza, how are you doing, man?
I'm really good, thanks, and I'm excited to be here yet again at the newly titled Accounting High. I think it wasn't quite that.
No, it
last
wasn't.
year when I spoke.
I had just came up with the name. I hadn't done the rebrand at that time. So we're post rebrand. We're just ending freshman year at Accounting High. So you still got the freshman year intro. So we're going into sophomore year, and we need to get serious about this education part of the platform. I've been having fun with the entertainment, and this is some real education here. We have a real author who wrote a dope book. If I were to write a book right now, which I am, I would call it How to Rap, How to Run an Accounting Practice.
Nice.
Right? And you talk about that a lot in this book. You talk about running a business is a lot different than being a technician and working in the business. And that was one of your pitfalls of early days of owning a practice, was you were stuck working in the business. You couldn't work on the business. So tell me what that means to you now that you are running 2 businesses, or do you feel like now you are currently stuck in the business of your pack?
Well, thankfully, I've learned lessons from the first business, so I haven't made the same mistakes again in the second business to kind of be stuck in the technician role, and I've learned to leverage my time a lot better and doing what I love. So I love working in the pack, but I leverage my time. So it's a one-to-many model where I can come on and I can teach at scale, and I can bring together a community of accountants from across the globe, but it doesn't take up every day of every hour of my time. It's a lot less than I was consumed in my first business. But it's the same for all of us. We kind of go through the the same background in terms of, we do our accountancy exams, we do our training, we go and work for a big firm, and then we have the big idea of actually, I can do this better. I can go and set up for myself and do this whole accounting thing myself in my own way, with my own vision, and serve clients at a much higher level than I am at the moment. And I was the same. I had those ambitions when I was at PwC, so I left and I bought a small accountancy practice. And although I was a good accountant, I was a good tax advisor, I was a rubbish business owner. I had no idea how to run a business. Because when you do your accountancy training, nobody teaches you how to run a business. Nobody teaches you how to price your services. Nobody teaches you how to win work. Nobody teaches you how to sell. Nobody teaches you how to manage and lead a team. So you end up just winging it and doing what you inherited from wherever you are at. And soon you get consumed just being that technician. And it's very hard to kind of break through until you kind of, you learn those skills. You learn from others. You start to read more widely. You embrace the fact that you're not a technician. You are not just that accountant now. You are a business owner. You are an entrepreneur. You've got to remove yourself away from the doing so you can actually work on the business and build a business that you're proud of, that gives you that money, time, and freedom that ultimately you desire and want. And that's the reason why you set up your business in the first place.
And that's a mindset shift to understand and know that, because we could go blind to that. I didn't know that I was working in my firm. I didn't know that there was another option. I didn't know there was anything else. I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do because I was doing what I learned. It was a learned skill from people who owned businesses before me, or at least people I was close to, other accountants. I was in a franchise, and this is how everybody was doing it. It wasn't until I read E-Myth that I really learned about working on the business, and I heard that phrase, and it started to click. And then for me, at least, because our journeys are very parallel. I think I'm about 2 or 3 years behind you as far as the whole trajectory goes and the book writing and everything. But man, if it wasn't like line for line when I'm reading this story and reading this book, it was like every word in there was a parallel from a different country for me. Like it's so crazy. Just a couple different years and then take away the pound signs and change it to a dollar sign, and we've got pretty much the same story here. So it's so cool. I'm kind of like looking at my future, right? And it was actually, for me, it was the entrepreneurial operating system, Traction, EOS, that really gave me a system and a way to get out of the business. I think this book here, The 4 Pillars, is your Traction for accountants, is your EOS. You're giving them practical step-by-step ways to get out of their day-to-day. And for any firm that's actually running, you wrote this in order for them. You wrote this for the firm owner, for the business owner that's stuck. There is another path for somebody that's just starting out. They can skip phase 1, but you wrote this 4 phases plus 5 with the productivity for the firm owner that's in a way running in a hamster wheel right now. You wrote this for me 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I needed this. I have it now, and I could share it. This is the gospel. And one thing I wrote about it was, in your story, make your own unique dent in the universe. Nothing in this book is unique. Very little in today's world is unique, and that's very true, especially with generative AI and everything. Very little is unique, and this is your interpretation. And you've read a lot. You're a seasoned reader. You're a philosopher now, I think. So talk to me about the process of getting the book out into the world.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's very kind of you, Scotty. And yeah, I remember talking to you last year when I was in the midst of it, and it just felt like such a heavy lift that when is this ever going to get done? Because writing a book is not easy. I remember having the idea for it in December 2021. I was on holiday in Barbados. And, when you're on holiday, your kind of mind is free. And I was thinking about, right, what is the next big thing? January was coming up. It was the Christmas holidays. We always try and get away. December 21, we're in Barbados having a lovely family holiday. And I get the idea of, right, okay, well, January, my resolution is going to be, I want to write this book, because I'd been teaching accountants for a few years now. So I'd kind of solidified my framework. The 4-pillar framework was up and running. So just a bit of background on the 4-pillar framework. That way, when I started to teach accountants, I knew I had to have a framework in order to be able to teach what I'd learned over the last 10 to 15 years. So that the process that I came up with the 4 pillars was actually, write down all the things that you did over the last 10 years to get your practice to a position where it can run without you. And as I started to do that, write down all these statements around how I got my practice to run without me, it then turned out that they all fell within one of those 4 areas, one of those 4 pillars: the pricing, the people, the process, and the positioning. And that's where the 4 pillars was born. And I was teaching this process to accountants. So it's a natural follow on from that, I wanted to write a book. I wanted to encapsulate kind of everything that I learned, a shortcut essentially for firm owners to not waste time and money doing the wrong things like I did, but actually, take the shortcut, read the book, and don't make the same mistakes that I did. So December 21 had the idea. I remember going on LinkedIn in December 21 to look for a book coach, because I knew that, yes, I could write the book, but without the accountability there, I probably won't get it done. Other things will take priority because it's such a heavy lift. So I remember going on LinkedIn, trying to find a book coach, and it turned out they do exist, and booked a meeting with a book coach in January. That meeting then led to engaging the book coach to get some kind of accountability in place to say, right, okay, this is the plan. She was going to help me with the development side of the book in terms of, right, okay, how do we lay it all out? How do we make sure it's cohesive and coherent for the potential readers? And then having accountability sessions every month. So she was going to hold me accountable to what I said I was going to do in terms of, right, okay, I'm going to write X amount of chapters before our next meeting. And that really helped. I don't think without the accountability, I would have got it out in the time frame that I did. The target was 12 months. It went slightly over. It took me around 15 months to actually finish it, get it done, get it out there, published, and printed. But
that's not too bad. Just 3 more months to get it just how you want it, to get it right. And that seems like a pretty decent timeline. You hear some people, they've been writing books over 3 years because they don't dedicate the time to it. They don't have anybody holding them accountable.
Exactly.
They're just talking about it. So finding that accountability coach was huge. And just a little sidetrack, you finding somebody on LinkedIn is very similar to how people would find you, I guess. Like if you're marketing to content creators all over the world, you're marketing to them on LinkedIn, you're doing things. So what did you look for when you went to find that coach? Was there things that you were doing that you saw parallels that they were doing, or was it something entirely different process?
In terms of what a book, I guess.
Were they creating content? Like when you were looking for the coach on LinkedIn, you didn't even know this existed. So you're going blind. And how did you, in picking somebody, that's a pretty intimate process to pick somebody to be working with you alongside you knew it was going to be 12 months. So how did you go about that process to choose and select a coach?
Yeah. I mean, for a start, there aren't that many book coaches out there. So that can help. When you type in book coach, there's a few that come up. But one of them stood out to me. And I guess this is what happens when you become an author. It was somebody who'd written a book herself, and she'd written a book to help other business owners, other entrepreneurs write their own business book. And she was a judge on the Business Book Awards held here in the UK. So she kind of, in terms of credibility, tick, tick, tick.
Yep.
And that's what we do when we're looking for something. And it's the same in our marketing. So this is a tip for, accountants when you're doing your marketing. People are looking for shortcuts to tick off in their mind. Can this person help me solve a problem? Do they have the credibility? Is the know, like, trust factor there? And clearly, for me, finding her, it was. She had written her own book. She ghostwrites for others. She's a judge on the panel. So I had a meeting with her, and we clicked, resonated, and engaged her, and the rest was history. And glad to have her on board. Yeah,
and I think I knew it would tie into the way that you discuss marketing in the book too. Know, like, and trust. You're telling a story, you're grabbing their attention, but you're also, displaying what you can do for them and what you've done in the past too, all through your marketing, and it's all pretty effortless once you crack the system. Once you start that system, storytelling is huge in anybody's platform and anybody's marketing and media. I just released an episode today on the conversations that you have with your market, and you're doing that through your content, and you're creating content for content creators because that's your accountancy firm. Tell me about now that you're an established author, now that you have a community, now that you're a media mogul, what's your day-to-day look like at the practice? Is it still 10 hours? Is it a week? Is it less? Is it more?
Yeah, no, it's a lot less now. It's probably around 5 hours a week, if that.
If that.
So
Yeah.
most of my time is spent creating content and helping my accountants audience in the pack, in the Profitable Accountants community. I also have a mastermind, a Profitable Accountants mastermind group. So I have one-to-one coaching that I do with practice owners and have small groups of firm owners in a similar level, similar size, helping each other as well in mastermind groups. So most of my time and energy is spent now coaching and mentoring accountants. In terms of a day in the life, so what I wrote in the productivity book, in terms of the skills I developed in order for me to be able to do what I do in terms of run, 2 separate businesses, plus have time for family, plus being able to take off school holidays, plus managing, property portfolio and all those sort of things, has come through being really, learning about what is the most effective way to get things done from all the productivity gurus and experts out there. People like Nir Eyal, who wrote the book Indistractable, which is fantastic. So I'm very intentional with my time now. And I know that my energy levels are at their highest in the morning. And I know how important it is for us to be the most effective with our minds. We have to be as conscious of what we do to our bodies, what we eat, how in terms of the quality of our sleep, how much exercise we get. So my mornings are set aside for myself and my deep work. So what that means is after the school run, I drop the kids, I go to the gym, I hit the gym straight away. So this morning I was at the gym for about an hour and a half, bit of cardio, bit of strength work. I finished the gym and then I hit a coffee shop next door to the gym. So now I'm in a zone which allows me to do my deep work. So from the hours of about 10 to 1 p.m. is my time for deep work. I have no meetings. No one can book a call with me in that time. And I use Calendly for all my meetings and all my calls. I just book it out. No one can book a call with me between 10 and 1 p.m. ever in the morning. So that is my time where I create my content or I prepare materials for my accountants audience. And that was the time that I was using to write the book as well, which I was doing last year. So that just gives me the best leverage in terms of I know my energy is at its highest at that time in the morning. So I carve that out. I make sure that that is reserved for me. It's no emails, no phone calls, all that can wait till the afternoon when, energy levels are a bit lower, and then I can do all that kind of shallow work afterwards. So that's kind of enabled me to kind of just, produce a lot more than how most people operate. They kind of just get in, check their inbox, they've got distractions, they've got the phone ringing, they've got emails, phone calls. We kid ourselves that we can multitask. We can't multitask.
No.
What we are doing is switch tasking. We are moving from one task to another, and that has an effect in terms of it deteriorates the amount of actual focused energy we can actually have on one task at one time.
Oh, I love that. I've been preaching that and studying that for years, and it's hard. Everybody wallows in the shallows. They just go right into their email and they get that dopamine hit. And for you, what I love is you've got a ritual. You're doing things and your body understands and knows that, and it's just become part of your routine. And you even have little hits along the way to keep you going, because going to the coffee shop and having a coffee is a little bit of that dopamine hit or that rush that you can get, or that little gift or spark of joy that you can get before you start doing the work too. It's that little ignition, ignite. That's to keep you to, after the workout, if you even attempt to start dragging, that coffee is going to get you back up to the level that you need to be to get the work done too. I love that. It's a little reward in the middle of the morning too. And you also said in the book, no coffee after 12.
Absolutely.
So explain that a little bit. Yeah. Some people are drinking coffee all day, the coffee lovers.
Yeah. No, it really impacts the quality of your sleep. I mean, I'm very much affected by caffeine. So if I have any coffee after 12 p.m., it affects my sleep. And, when you don't have enough sleep, you're not fully recharged, then you feel sluggish the next day, you're not at optimum levels of energy, you eat badly, and everything gets messed up. So sleep is, equally important. Well, very important, really.
Oh, it's the most important. That kicks off your day. That sets the tone for the day. Is how much sleep you got the night before. How many hours of sleep do you target?
I try and get at least 7 to 8 hours a day.
Okay.
My phone, all my notifications, and just goes on do not disturb after about 9:30 p.m. So try and be in bed by 10 and asleep by 10:30. So awake by sort of 6:30 a.m. So a good 8 hours.
So the cycle I used to get into when I was running my firm, when I was working in the firm, when I was stuck in that hamster wheel, was I would get up, I would wallow in the shallows, I would do anything reactive I could. I would have my meetings set all day, and I had no real control over the time blocks of when the meetings were scheduled. They were just happening. New clients, sales, current clients, anything. And then I would go home, or I would do something, to break up that day. And then I would actually get to the real work at night when everybody's going to bed, when everybody's, at home with the family. I'm there. I may be at home. I may be back at the office, and I'm working late. Sleep was the last in the priority list because I needed to get all this work done, and I would get no interruptions at night. So I would just do it all at night. It was terrible. Lots of Red Bull and lots of coffee, whatever it was. And I just ignored sleep. Nobody told me how important sleep was until I started reading more books and learning how important our health is and the foundational things to take care of. So before you do anything else, I think, one of the prequels to this book is all that health stuff that you talk about. You can't really grow a successful business or grow anything if you're not growing yourself, spiritually, internally, mentally, your health, all of that. So I think the first thing is to work on yourself, and that's something that you've done, you've been doing. Were you always this intentional about your time?
No, not at all. Just just like the business journey, you don't know what you don't know. You just kind of do things on autopilot with habits that you have, because if no one actually spells it out to you, or you don't realize that actually the reason why I'm feeling so sluggish, or the reason why I'm not at a high energy level is because of X, Y, and Z. If it's not pointed out to you, or if you don't actually feel the pain of it, then you're never going to change. So, no, absolutely. It helped that my wife is a personal trainer and nutritionist, so she kind of helped to point out these things to me over the course of the years that we've been together. And then, just kind of being open to hearing about and learning about optimum routines and the importance of looking after yourself, and how do the most successful and most productive people operate, and just getting those tips. And it just helped to put in place this routine that allows me to be as not it doesn't work every day, but more often than not, I try and keep on track with the routine. But I know if I get a good night's sleep and I go to the gym, then I feel good for the rest of the day. If I don't get a good night's sleep because I had coffee at like 2 p.m. or something, and I disobeyed my own rule, then I suffer the next day. So your kind of body tells you.
Yeah. I fall into the trap where I chase a good time too. I've always been a night owl, always been a night person, and then I've been doing a lot of traveling too. So my sleep always gets messed up when I'm out on trips and when I'm traveling, especially when I'm with a lot of people. Do you ever find that happens, or are you very disciplined when you're doing your traveling too?
To be honest, I don't do much traveling at the moment. The only traveling I do is family holidays at the moment. But otherwise, it's pretty limited. Everything I do is all virtual. It's all online, so I don't have to travel anywhere much. And if I go to the conferences to speak to, they tend to be fairly local. So London is only a couple of hours away. So thankfully I don't have to worry about too much traveling. I have 4 kids at home as well, so I'm still, dad's taxi to drive people around, drive the kids around here, there, and everywhere. They're going to need to be around, and therefore can't take too many days off and be away from the family. So, but it works well for us.
Oh no, I love that. That's great. And your wife being a personal trainer and nutritionist. I like to say my wife is a personal chef. She's learning a lot about nutritionist, and she's been cooking a lot differently, but that must be great, just to have somebody there to kind of keep you in line too. You have a really cool mantra too, or you think big and you say there are no rules, you push the boundaries. What got you to think like that? Was there inspiration early in life? Was there somebody that inspired you? I guess, who inspired you to think big and to do big and to do all this?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure how that happened, whether there was anyone in particular. I think I probably started very late on in life in terms of just realizing the potential that one has, and actually that, because I was fairly, I wasn't particularly academic. I was never, I didn't get amazing results in my degree or my chartered accountancy qualifications. I kind of just, was fairly average, fairly mediocre. until I discovered the whole world of self-development, which I didn't really do until my mid-30s. So it kind of went a lot of years without realizing that, there's a lot of untapped potential here. And you don't have to figure things out alone, and immerse yourself in the world of self-development, read the books, listen to the podcasts that people have gone before you. You don't have to figure things out yourself. And that was the huge kind of epiphany moment for me. And that's transformed my results and ultimately my life. And so this is what I'm preaching to others now, to say, look, don't wait until your mid-30s to figure out what I figured out. When you're in your 20s, this is what you need to be doing. And it's the same advice I'm giving my son, who's 15 now, to do the same. I'm getting him all the books. I'm telling him, get him a YouTube premium account so he can start listening to stuff on the go without the ads and fill his brain with good stuff. Because as far as I'm concerned, and as Jim Rohn said, formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. Ooh. So if you want to make a fortune, start working on educating yourself, which, I'm sure you are.
I'm a testament to that. And I did it the same way, dude. I was in mid-30s when I started this journey. I've always been a big thinker, but it was always like in the back of it, pushed back and stifled, and it created a lot of anxiety. It created a lot of dissonance internally because I never actually acted on the stuff I wanted to do. I always wanted to be a rapper. I always wanted to be some kind of entertainer. And I'm about to turn 40 this year, and I just started doing it this year. But it was the books and it was the self-development journey that I went on to lead to that, to give me that space. So amongst like learning about working on the firm and changing the firm, it was not until I really started the self-development and started to change my habits and started to wake up about what I was eating and what I was putting in my body and how much I was sleeping. It wasn't until I got that stuff right, and I spent a whole year just on that. Once I got that stuff right, then it was a real, and I don't know if you went through this too, but I had a real existential crisis going through because I didn't grow up doing theater or actually rapping or anything like that. I was pretty much, I thought I was going to be an accountant all the way through. Like I had a little bit of a fork in the road, but then it steered right back into accountancy. And it wasn't until I really tapped into that I started to dig down and find where my anxieties were stemmed from, and to find where that frustration and where that, want to grow and to be big and to do big things, not even be big, but just to do big things that I was proud of myself and that I could respect myself. And I feel like you've been on that journey too. And I love that you're passing the torch early to your son. And you mentioned the YouTube premium. My son's always on YouTube. I might need to get him premium to get rid of those ads because he learns so much. He's a little fountain of knowledge. He just spits out facts to me all day. And I know he got them straight from YouTube Shorts and YouTube different things too. This journey that you're on, I'm just following you. I'm a few steps down on the escalator, but I'm on my way up there too. So I love this. This is inspiration for me for sure. And how about early on when you started doing the self-development, what are some of the books or authors or people that really that you could remember reading and that you said, I get it now. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, so I remember the first book I read. I remember where I was on a holiday in Tenerife. And for some reason, I don't know why I hadn't got into business books before then, but I had a book, someone had recommended it. It was the book Drive by Dan Pink. Mm-hmm. And in a nutshell, what Dan says is that it's all about employee motivation. What really drives employee motivation? And he condenses it all down into these three areas: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. That we go through life, and I was the same. I had my practice, and I think, okay, fine. Well, the reason why my employees are not motivated is because they're not earning enough. So let me put some carrots there to say, if you do this, then you will get this. And if you work harder and we achieve this result, you will get this kind of bonus. But actually, research has shown that most knowledge workers are not motivated by money. Throwing more money at them is not going to get them to work harder. We need to work on these three areas: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy meaning giving them independence in terms of how they operate. The whole results-only work environment, work when, where, and how you want, as long as the work gets done. Everyone has that desire of
freedom.
of freedom, of having that independence. And your employees want that too. So giving your employees
Speaking of on the U.S. Independence Day, or the eve of U.S. Independence Day, again, you've done it again.
So autonomy, but with accountability to say, look, I don't care when, where, how you do it. As long as you get it done, and I hold you accountable to the results. I don't care that you're not here 9 to 5, or I don't care that you're not in the office. It doesn't matter to me. Knowledge workers don't need to be in a fixed place in working in a fixed time for work to get done. So that's the autonomy. The mastery side is to get everyone working in their zones of genius. Every individual, every employee of yours has strengths, has natural gifts, has natural talents. You need to find out what that is. And then give them more of what gives them that energy and joy and enables them to work in their zone of genius. Because as human beings, we want to grow. We want to do something that gives us that satisfaction, that we are using our God-given talents and gifts towards, something that's adding value to people's lives. And the last is purpose, which is that what I'm doing is working towards a bigger goal, something bigger than just churning out a set of accounts or doing some bookkeeping. The bigger goal is, helping people to have a better life, helping people to build a better business so they can have a better life and do all the things that they want to do with their family, etc. So connecting what your people are doing to a bigger goal, a bigger purpose, for them to feel that what they are doing is actually worthwhile to somebody somewhere, that helps you, again, to drive employee motivation forward. So that was the first book, which was a game changer for me in terms of how I managed, how I led my team. And I guess maybe the thing that, we had enable me to action those changes was my risk profile as an entrepreneur. So I'd always been fairly risk seeking. I remember, when I was young, playing Monopoly and kind of going all out, buying all the hotels right at the very beginning with all my money and hoping that, right, that's it. I'm going all in. Someone will land on it.
Or like poker. Do you play poker? And is that
I don't play poker. No.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
professionally gambled. So Monopoly was my
fair enough.
my opening.
Fake money.
But that's kind of, but that mindset helped me to take a gamble in terms of, right, okay, well, let me take the concepts that I'm learning in this book and actually apply them. So I think that's the difference, that a lot of people will read the stuff, they'll know what to do, but they won't have the courage and the conviction to actually go away and implement what they've read. And that's the difference between those who actually make a success of their business and their life, is they actually act on the advice that they receive, that they hear, that they read, that they listen to. So that was the opening drive. And then I read Work Sucks by Jodie Thompson and Kali Resler. They're the pioneers of the results-only work environment. And that kind of changed my thinking with regards to the 9 to 5 and the timesheets. So we got rid of the timesheets, we got rid of the working hours. Our team can work when, where, how they want, as long as the work gets done. And then there was a whole host I read about Simon Sinek's books and Patrick Lencioni's books around people, pricing books from Ron Baker, Mark Wickersham, and others. Sales books sales videos are really good. So there's a chap called Victor Antonio on YouTube. So kind of immersing myself in his stuff and with regards to how do I conduct better prospect meetings, sales meetings, to be able to get that prospect from a position of where they are to where they want to get to. All these things then help to make those 1% improvements, in which we know, a 1% change every day is then 37 times better by the end of the year. So
compounding.
The compound effect. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good Atomic Habits reference there, or other things. Everybody talks about that. And some of your heroes, or some of the people that influenced you along the way, you got on the forward to this book. You got a lot of acknowledgments from people that were teaching you along the way too. And I'm sure a lot of their teachings made its way into the book, because you're taking, the one thing I really loved was when you were saying very little in this world is unique. It's just one person's interpretation of everything. There's no unique messages. You're just the humble messenger, and you're that unique, you're the filter for all the ideas of everything that you learned and your journey along the way. Only you can distill it in this way. And it's a million different pieces of different things that you've built up into being who you are. And so your interpretation of all this is very clean and clear on how to run a practice. And this has been so inspirational for me, because that's the book that I'm writing. I've got a writing partner too, and we're writing how to run a practice. And our core, I don't know if we're calling it pillars or not, but our core all start with the letter P just as well. And everything's so similar, and it just so happens they start with the letter P. I tried to go back to the source of that, and you wrote about it in the book too, how all of your pillars start with the letter P, and it just so happened to be. But then, for me at least, I leaned in. Once I started to see all of these words, I tried to go for, and for me it was different. I wasn't trying to create a curriculum. I was just trying to create content in the show, and I wanted something with some purpose. So I started to find all of the different areas of a practice that people should focus on and learn more about, and they all started to start with the letter P. So I leaned in and I just went hard, and we did like 32 different P words. Probably killed a dead horse there and drove it a little too far. But at the same time, it was super fun to do. I had a lot of fun. It's the journey, right? And having fun along the journey and making that the destination. If the journey is the destination, then everything you do along the way if it's fun, it's successful. Even if it's a failure, it's successful because you learned from that and you move on to do different things. And it may not be how you mapped it out in the beginning. So tell me some big roadblocks or quote unquote failures that you hit along the way to doing this. Because again, I think you're probably somebody that agrees with me here. There are really no failures. They're just guideposts along the way. And maybe you change direction, but nothing's a real, like, I took this big risk and I failed and now I'm nothing. Like, once you learn that, that's another big unlock too. Tell me about
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, everything is a journey, isn't it? When I started out, that's exactly what I was doing. I was experimenting in terms of, how do I, when you've got a practice, we all have the same desires. We want to grow the practice. We want to build a practice that gives us that time, money, and freedom. And we try lots of different things. So we try different things to win clients. And I tried many things to win clients. Turned out that they were all tactics, and I really wasn't clued up on the strategy. I learned later that tactics without strategy is just noise. So I had to go back to basics and figure out, right, okay, well, what is strategy? What do I actually have to do to be able to figure out where am I going with all of this, to get clear on that, get clear on the who. As I say in the book, that's the first thing you need to do, get clear on the who. Once you get clear on the who, the what, where, and how to then find your clients becomes so much easier. It's all to do with positioning. So going through that journey of, trying different things, same with pricing, trying to, again, a journey of figuring things out, doing things the wrong way to begin with, doing the timesheets, charging by the hour, and then actually seeing the impact of that. So there's a story I mentioned in the book about a time when we had a really good client that was paying us a 5-digit recurring fee. We helped them to stay afloat. So we did some additional work for them over and above the recurring work to give them a lifeline to actually stay in business. And the client was very grateful for our support. We were clocking time in the background. So we just thought, right, okay, well, the client has signed an engagement letter with us, whatever time we have clocked up for, the project to help them stay in business, to help them find this facility that was going to keep them in business, we'll just charge him what we had on the timesheet. So in that meeting, I remember passing over the sheet to him, which had a breakdown of all the hours that we spent after he came into that meeting, elated, really happy, really appreciative of all the work we'd done. And then we said, oh yeah, by the way, and here is our a schedule of hours of all the time we spent. And his face just went white. His jaw just dropped. And the whole relationship changed from that point on. Oh, yeah. He clearly wasn't happy because, A, he'd been surprised. He wasn't expecting it.
He was paying you over $10K a month already, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Clients hate surprises. Clients hate the uncertainty. And we'd gone from having a client where we could do nothing wrong. We were up there in terms of, perception and value to him, to now at the bottom. And within a couple of weeks, he said, sorry, I found somebody else. I can't work with people who send me surprise invoices and don't tell me how much I'm going to pay before they start the work. So that really was an eye-opener. That kind of got me thinking to say, well, this is a really good client. And we lost this client because we surprised him. And the realization to me that actually, if someone did that to me, I wouldn't be very happy either. So it then got me on the world of, okay, well, there must be a better way of doing things. And then I came across the works of Mark Wickersham, Ron Baker about value pricing, start to learn more, and then started to implement some of what I was learning, started to get better results, where the results I was getting was, value pricing is win-win because the client is happy that they're going to get a result. They know exactly what they're going to pay. They know what they're going to get. And we know internally that, yeah, for that fee, we can absolutely generate a result and make money on it. So it's win-win. And that's the way it should be, that we should be paid when we generate a result. We shouldn't just be paid because we're spending time with a client.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, it's getting out of that carousel or out of that hamster wheel because it's a trap. You know, you're doing it and that's your methods. It's the same way I feel with finally picking and going in on a vertical, which I haven't done a niche. I haven't done that at my firm yet. My firm is chugging along. It's very, very profitable. Everything we're doing seems to be right, but all of our clients are everywhere. And they're everywhere across the world too. The only common thread they have is they're all using Xero. So we don't have that real industry vertical or industry niche that you have. Talk about the process of, because it sounds like, you know, that 10K a month client or whatever it was that left, they weren't content creators. And like, that's an entirely different pivot to finally go all in. And it's scary. It's scary for me because I still haven't done it. You know, I might do it with a new firm, create a whole new firm, and then figure out the positioning from day one. But doing that, and again, I haven't got to that entire, you know, set part of the book yet, so I may need to do that too. But give me a little preview before I get there. And I apologize, I wanted to read the whole book before we recorded, but hey, this is
yeah, no worries.
I got back-to-back trips too. So let's talk about that. Like finally doing that. What did you do to go through that process? Talk about your journey there.
Okay, so there's a step before the content creator niche, and that is the real estate niche.
Oh.
So you have
a property portfolio too. So on top of all your other businesses, you also have real estate. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, I was under the same journey. I was reading all the books. I was listening to, you know, all the great minds on the planet talk about marketing, and the common theme was that you need to get your audience right. You need to figure out who it is that you are serving. So having heard all of this, then I thought, okay, well, let me go through my client base. Let me try and find a particular group of clients that I want to serve, that I enjoy serving, that I have some interest in. So my first niche with the original firm was actually in real estate, into property. And I did everything that I talk about in the book. So kind of identifying the audience, number one, first and foremost, because it's much easier to create content. It's much easier to know where to go to find those clients once you know who they are. So once I found out, right, that is the audience, then everything else becomes easier, right? Okay, so now I know the audience. What are their problems? What are the questions that they are asking? What are their pain points? What are their frustrations? What are their goals? What are their ambitions? All that becomes so much easier when I know who I'm going to serve. So I chose the audience. I started to create content around it. So I did the YouTube videos. I did the blogs. I wrote a book, my first book. Well, I think one of my first books was All Your Property Tax Questions Answered. I got that published on Amazon. That then elevated me to the so-called expert in the real estate property niche. And that helped to drive really good prospects to me. And within a space of a couple of years, that was the kind of the trigger and the igniter that helped me to really transform our profits. Because we got into the property niche, we won some big projects, six-figure projects, which then gave us the profits to be able to then invest and allowed me to then step away from the practice. So between about 2016 and 2018, we drove the property niche forward. That then allowed me to get to a position where I wasn't spending as much time in the practice anymore. I could employ others to come and do the technical work. And it was at that same time, I was still with Mark Wickersham on his mentoring program, and he saw the results I was getting. So he said to me, look, you need to come and talk to the audience, you know, the other accountants, about what you're doing and how you're implementing value pricing to get these results. So I did that. It went really well. And then he invited me to come back every single month. So we got into an arrangement where I was helping accountants do this thing, you know, mentoring them every month to help them with not just their pricing, but also other aspects of the practice when it comes to, you know, positioning and people and processes. And after about a year and a half, then we decided to go our separate ways. So when I started teaching, when I had my own program now, the PAC that I teach accountants through, one of the biggest challenge that comes up is, how do we win new clients from my audience? How do we get new business? The number one challenge that accountants have. So I decided, right, in February 2021, rather than just teach you, I'm going to do it with you. So everyone just comes to me and said, oh, it's okay for you because, you're established and you already had a team and, you had a practice that goes back to, 40 years. It's easy for you to do this. I said, okay, fine. Well, I'm going to set up a brand new accounting firm with a new niche and a new message and a new website and a new lead magnet and a new lead developed marketing strategy and tactics. And I'll share it all with you in real time. And let's see what happens.
You raised the stakes.
Then egg on my face.
You raised the stakes and you took a big risk doing that too.
Absolutely. So that was the birth of Capture Accounting, February 2021. It was a marketing experiment.
How is that experiment going 2 years later?
Oh, fantastic. It's our most profitable and rapidly growing sector of the practice. So we still have the original firm.
So it's the most profitable sector and it's but it's still part of the original firm. It's just a different branding and different. Oh, wow. Interesting. So you really did take this to the level that Ron talks about is you opened up the Ruth's Chris across the street from the McDonald's. Well, it wasn't even a McDonald's. You had another steakhouse because it was real estate. Did you cut all of your other clients when you became real estate only, or you still had those other clients?
We still have this. So we still have a mixed bag of clients. So we've got mixed, we've got property, and now we've got the content creators. But it's all under one entity still.
Interesting.
They're just brand names.
So your teams that work with those clients, do you have teams centered around just real estate and just content creators now?
Exactly, yeah. So within the practice, we then have people who specialize in property or people who specialize in the content creators, because that's the benefit of niching down, right? You go narrow and you go deep into one particular area, and that's how you add value. That's how you then see clients then see you as the expert because you've gone narrow and you've gone deep. You understand their problems. Your team are able to answer questions on the fly because they get the same question, over and over. Clients can see you add a hell of a lot of value to them because you're dealing with other people like them. And that's how you generate efficiencies, by not working with 57 different industries, but actually, bring that down to 3 or 4 maximum of different industries that you work with, and your team will become a lot more efficient at what they do. And if your team are efficient and you're able to bring in more at the top end through your pricing and positioning, then the gap is your lovely profit as the owner at the end.
Yeah, that's your time, money, and freedom right there. That's effective too. You're a master at articulating all this stuff too. And I think that's, that goes with your focus and your dedication to your craft too. Because all throughout, you're an entrepreneur. Throughout all these journeys and everything that you're doing, maybe not with your family, but you're an entrepreneur with everything else. There's a lot of endeavors here. You've got the firm that has essentially 3 arms, 2. When you focus on client acquisition, do you still do the real estate and do you still take on any other general client too? Or do you just do the content now?
Our marketing is focused mainly on the content creators, although the assets that we had created for the property tax niche are still around. So the YouTube videos I did 4 or 5 years ago, the book I wrote is still out there. So that is the beauty of creating these digital assets, leading with value, because those things are evergreen and they will persist and people will still find them and they'll get value and benefit from them and they'll get in touch with you, even though you may not have, for years after you first document and put these things in place. So it's definitely worth time investment to create these digital assets because they will generate you an investment for years on end.
Absolutely. And I've been doing it with no intention. I've just been kind of wallowing around in this whole space, creating the content. And this is a template. This is a way forward with some more focus. And you're able to spend your time or allocate your time among all of these things. Do you handle all of the property portfolio too? Do you handle everything there? Does your wife also help with that?
For that, I luckily, as part of my team, I have a very good administrator in my team who handles most of the property side of things in terms of the management. So I just get involved in purchases, growing the portfolio, that sort of thing.
How about for the pack? Does your team overlap there too? Do you have more of a administrative that handles the firm and the pack?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a very lean machine. I've got an assistant, a marketing assistant who operates out of Tanzania. So she helps with the operation side of things. I have Karen, who's also in my practice as administrator. She handles customer support, so they kind of overlap in her work. And we have really good systems. So we use Notion. Notion is like my second brain.
Yes.
So I've built my
Well,
second brain
there's a
in
platform
Notion.
called Second Brain that teaches
There is
you how
indeed.
to use Notion in that way.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I've got the book Tiago Forte stuff. That's
Yeah.
pretty good going. So we've got good systems which allow us to to leverage our assets. So I create the content and then we'll repurpose the hell out of that content to make sure it lasts and goes through all the platforms. And we've got this marketing engine working from top of funnel in terms of awareness, getting it out on social media, and then we have particular lead magnets which get the accountants into the funnel through the book or other lead magnets, and then we nurture them over time through our email engine before eventually getting them into the pack or the PAM, as the case
The
may
pack
be.
or the pan or on your PAP, which is part of the content creation and the marketing engine. That's awesome. This is so inspiring for me and for our listeners too, because you've done this all, as an accountant, you grew to be an entrepreneur, and you've got a little bit of an empire that's running lean too. You've got multiple different things you're doing. I don't know, empire's too big of a word. We haven't gotten to the empire stage yet, but you've written multiple books. You've got multiple businesses. You've got 4 kids. That in and of itself is the full-time job. That's what you're doing all of this for. And you're able to spend quality time with your kids and go on holiday and go on vacation. There was one little tidbit I wanted to throw in before we wrap up. You told the story about the Turkish barber, and God, I love that, because I go to the barber shop at least once a week. I just have them do my face. I don't even cut my hair anymore. My hair's been growing out for a year, at least since the last time I saw you. I think I haven't got a haircut, but I go every week to the barber shop, and I like a good shave. That's all I do is trim up the beard and a shave. And it's hard to find a good barber these days. And I didn't know there was such thing as a Turkish barber. Is that more of a UK thing, or is it everywhere?
I thought it was everywhere, but maybe there's a proliferation in the UK of Turkish barbers.
So, beautiful story. Why don't you tell a little bit about it, because you helped him out too, and he was delivering a amazing service for no money at all. And this is and you saw the correlation between a lot of accounting firms and what they're doing with their clients, going above and beyond, doing all kinds of things and not charging for it. So
absolutely,
your expectations, it was underwhelming almost, right? Like as far as the money goes, as far as the price, you may not have even gone there if you saw all the prices for everything. You may not have thought twice to even go to establishment with such dirt cheap prices.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is our problem, that we often we don't realize our worth. And not just accountants, most business owners don't realize their worth and don't increase their prices because they of this kind of scarcity mindset. But actually, when you're delivering a lot of value. And that's what I said to this. I went to the Turkish barber, and I go in and I get greeted, and he offers me a Turkish coffee. And then my time comes, I sit on the chair, I get the really good blend going on, and he spends a lot of time on my hair. Then they do the eyebrows, they do the nose clipping, they do the fire thing on the ears to burn off the hair around your ears.
That, yeah.
Then I get the hot towel on my face. It's like a Rolls Royce full Turkish VIP experience. And he does this to everyone. And he charges everyone the same price of just £13. In dollars wise, it's probably about $16, $17
That's insane.
for this whole experience. And I said to him, you are far too cheap. You're leaving money on the table. I would gladly pay you another $5, $10, £5 for this same service. But he said, oh, no, people won't pay that. People won't pay it. I said, I would pay it. So what you need to do is that you need to have different options for different people, because different people value things differently. So I said, if you were to have 3 options, you had one basic option where people just come in and they get a haircut and they go out, and you charge them the £13. Because some people, that's all they want. They want to come in, they come out, that's it. They don't want to sit there for long. Then you have another experience, one level up, which gives them a wash as well, and maybe a couple of other bells and whistles. And then your premium full Turkish experience can be the coffee, the hot towel, the eyebrows, all that kind of stuff for, £20, £21. So you can increase your prices by 30%, and you would get it from people who value having that full Turkish. And you would have you'll be making a hell of a lot more money, because now the people that value the service will pay you, 40, 50% more. And those that don't, you won't have to spend 50% more time on them, because all they want is a haircut and they're still prepared to pay that same price. So just by incorporating another 2 levels of options in your pricing, you will end up making a lot more money without actually generating any new customers, just from your existing customer base. And the same thing applies to most of us accountants who can do the same.
Well, now he doesn't have an accountability partner or somebody watching over him. Have you gone back since, and has he done anything differently?
I have gone back since, and we have the same conversation. He's stuck on the hamster wheel, right? He's just too busy working in the business. He's working, 13, 14 hours a day, cutting hair, that he has no time or headspace afterwards to be able to actually work on his business. Even though he's getting, valuable advice that, I would charge clients tens of thousands of pounds for, I'm giving him to free. But, when you're in that technician mindset and you have that scarcity, it's very difficult to break through.
Well, and he may not have any pains of the present. He may not, it may not be that he's in money trouble. He may live within his means. He's probably been doing this for a while, and there are not enough pains to cause him to want to change. I've said this a lot, and you said this in so many words earlier on, is the change, the present has to be very painful for you to really seek out the change. There has to be plentiful pain in the present for you to want to go through the pains of change, because change is hard too. Going through change is very difficult. You're upending a lot of things that are just on autopilot. And like I was saying, and I hinted to, my whole existential crisis was painful. Now, it was necessary, and it was powerful, and I'm on the other side of it now. I think I am. I'm very close to the other side of it. I feel like after this reset, this last trips are always reset. You say that creates space, when you're on holiday and you get time to think. After this reset, I'm on the other side of that existential crisis, but it's a crisis and it's painful to change. So just a forewarning for anybody that's seeking out change at their firm or seeking out change the way they do things, that's going to be painful too. And you've gone through it. I've gone through it. It's worth it. On the other side, it's so much freer. You feel free. You have that time and you have that freedom, but you also have the money too. You could have freedom and time, but no money, and then you're just roaming the streets, right? Like, you kind of need all three to be happy. Absolutely. It's that pursuit of happiness. And I think you're on that journey. I'm on that journey. And anybody that wants to come along with us, there's room on the escalator.
Absolutely.
To be on that journey with you.
Yeah. That's the driver of all human motivation, right? Everything we do is driven by a desire to avoid pain or to seek pleasure.
Ooh, okay.
So everything we do, it falls within, all human motivation falls within one of those 2 brackets, a desire to avoid pain or a desire to seek pleasure. But the desire to avoid pain is a greater motivator than a desire to seek pleasure, which is why in our marketing as well, we focus on the problems, focus on the pain, because your clients, business owners, are more driven, more motivated to avoid pain than they are to seek pleasure. So talk about what the loss of, not coming on board with you, the potential loss of, getting an inquiry from the IRS, the potential loss of, their business failing or not being able to get the figures that they need to make better decisions. Focus on the potential loss that could arise, and that will motivate them into taking action, because we are motivated by a desire to avoid loss and avoid pain. Avoid pain.
So that's fear. That's the fear driver.
Absolutely.
And the second one is to seek pleasure. And wow, all right, I love this. That stems off a whole nother conversation that we'll have another time. It's going to be great. This is great. I appreciate you, Reza. Any parting wisdom? Where I know our audience, they could find you on LinkedIn. You also have RezaHooda.com.
That's correct.
RezaHooda.com.
Mm-hmm.
Find them on LinkedIn too. And
I'm happy if your listeners want a copy of my book, I'll send you a link. I have some free copies, happy to ship internationally as well. Just cover the shipping and handling fee. I'll send you a link and you can put it in the podcast description for anyone who wants a copy of the book whilst the free copies last.
While the free copies last, you can get your free copy. Just pay for shipping if you're in the US. If you're in the UK, fire it off to you. I don't know how that works. If you're in the UK, you should already be following Reza. You should not be listening to this show and have this be a gateway. He's big over there. This is awesome. And I have one more like one-liner here. So I was with a lot of people on my last trip that from the UK or from Europe, and all of their phones had the time in 24-hour time, right? And I'm looking at it, and I realized that they were saying 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, but it said, 16 or 18 or whatever the time was. And I always thought that you guys said it 16 or 17. I always thought that was the time that you guys said. And then I realized you guys are like trained to do the math in your head, or you just see it. And when you see 16, 15, that's what? What's 16?
Four.
Four. See?
Yeah.
See, I still don't know it. And I thought I was being smart, and I changed my clock to the 24-hour time because I thought it made more sense. When everybody explained it to me how they were doing it, it kind of made more sense to me, but I still didn't know the conversion. So the punchline to all of this is the next day I'm at the airport and my gate got changed, things got moved around, and I thought I was fine because I thought it was an hour earlier and I missed my flight because it changed the time.
Oh, no.
I missed my flight and I was there for like another day because I'm an idiot and because I thought I was being smart. So be a lesson to anybody. Don't get ahead of yourselves in this whole journey too. I was like, oh man, I'm going to be a more evolved human. I'm going to use the 24-hour time. This whole American way of doing things is just not working. Oh man. And I missed my flight. So,
oh God,
yeah,
just don't do it before you have a flight to catch. That's all.
I know. All right, well, bad story, bad joke, but this just happened a couple days ago, so there you go. This is why I was late. This is why I couldn't read your book, because I changed my clock to 24 hours, and I got stuck there for a whole nother day, and it threw everything off. But I'm looking forward to finishing the book. I love it. This is awesome. Get your book. We'll put the link in the show notes, and thank you for coming on. This is a guidepost in our series of different series in Accounting High. This is one of the guideposts, and the color of the guidepost is yellow, and your color of your book is yellow. It's that sun, It's that North Star leading the way, and you're following the light, and that's the light, the yellow. So thank you, Reza.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Scotty. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.